Welcome to our deep dive today.
Okay.
We're going to be looking at Lao Tzu and his Tao Te Ching.
Sounds fun.
So get ready to kind of question everything you thought you knew
Yeah.
about, ambition and success and making your mark on the world, because this is a philosophy that says the best way to win is to not try at all.
A bit of a paradox.
Yeah, to set the scene, imagine a world consumed by just chaos and constant warfare.
Yeah.
That's the backdrop for where Lao Tzu developed this unique philosophy.
It is fascinating, isn't it? I mean, this period of warring states in China, it really sets the stage for understanding, I think, a lot of the satirical nature of Lao Tzu's work. I mean, he's essentially presenting a radical alternative to all of these power struggles that are going on at the time.
So, okay, let's talk about Lao Tzu himself. He's a bit of a mystery, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, we have no birth records, no confirmed death date. Some historians even question whether he existed at all.
Oh, wow.
Suggesting he might be more of a composite figure, kind of this like legendary sage that embodies the ideals of Taoism.
So almost like a philosophical ghost.
Yeah.
Which adds to the intrigue.
Absolutely.
But let's get into one of his most famous concepts.
Okay.
Wu Wei. It's often translated as non-action or effortless action.
Right.
But it's not about just being lazy, is it?
No, definitely not.
No.
It's more about aligning yourself with the natural flow of the universe rather than forcing outcomes.
Okay.
It's about recognizing that sometimes the most effective way to achieve something is to just let go of control, to trust the process, and to act in a way that's in harmony with that natural order of things.
So it's like going with the flow.
Yeah.
But on a cosmic level.
Exactly.
It's a commentary on all the ambition
and
striving
that
define that period.
And the satirical element becomes even more apparent when we start looking at his ideas about leadership.
Because he basically said, forget what,
He really did.
about being a leader.
He argued that a true leader works behind the scenes supporting their people without seeking credit or control, which is so different from the traditional model of leadership,
Totally.
which was all about, dominance and power.
It's like, imagine a CEO today saying, oh, this successful company, it wasn't me, it was all them.
Yeah.
That just goes against everything.
It really does.
That we're taught today.
And I think that's what's so compelling about it. He's challenging all of our assumptions about what it even means to be a leader.
Yeah.
He's suggesting that true power lies not in forcing your will on others, but in empowering them.
Oh, wow.
To achieve their full potential.
Yeah.
It's subtle, but it's a powerful form of satire.
And this satirical lens extends to his ideas about knowledge and achievement as well.
Right.
Because he basically said, the more you learn, the less you actually know.
Right.
It's like he's trolling the scholars of his time.
He's definitely challenging that conventional wisdom about the value of knowledge. He saw excessive knowledge as a source of anxiety and a distraction from living in harmony with the Tao, which you can kind of understand as the natural way of the universe.
Right.
And it's not that he was against knowledge itself, but he was very skeptical of the relentless pursuit of it for its own sake.
So basically, don't get caught up in this endless pursuit of information.
Right.
But focus on understanding the underlying principles that govern life, the Tao.
And it's so relevant today, with information overload.
Yeah.
And our anxieties about, constantly learning and achieving.
It's like he anticipated all those modern anxiety.
Precisely. And to illustrate this point, he uses this brilliant and somewhat satirical metaphor, water.
Yes, water. The ultimate underdog hero.
Right.
It's seemingly so weak and yielding, yet it has the power to shape mountains, to carve canyons.
Yeah.
It's like he's holding up a mirror to all of this ambition.
Yeah.
And saying, look, this is what true power looks like.
That's a great way to put it. I mean, water, despite its apparent weakness, it's incredibly adaptable.
Yeah.
It's resilient. It finds its way around obstacles. It wears down resistance over time, and it ultimately transforms the landscape.
Yeah.
And he's using this image to really highlight the power of Wu Wei, of effortless action, of aligning yourself with that natural flow of things.
Okay, so I'm starting to understand this be like water concept.
Yeah.
But how does it actually translate to everyday life?
Right.
How can we embrace our inner water?
Yeah.
In a world that constantly pushes us to strive and achieve.
Well, that's the beauty of Lao Tzu's work. It's full of these seemingly simple metaphors that invite us to kind of rethink our whole approach to
Ah,
life. And he doesn't give us like a step-by-step guide on how to be like water,
right.
but he encourages us to just observe the qualities of water
Right.
and reflect on how we might embody those qualities in our own lives.
So it's less about mimicking the water literally
Yeah.
and more about understanding the
Agree.
principles.
Think about the qualities.
Okay.
It's adaptable, it's persistent.
Yeah.
It's always in motion, yet it has this incredible stillness at its core.
Okay.
Those are qualities that can be cultivated in our own lives,
Right.
regardless of our circumstances.
So maybe it's about being more flexible in our thinking,
Mm,
more resilient in the face of challenges, and more accepting of change,
yeah,
which is a constant.
absolutely.
It's almost like a form of mental and emotional judo,
Yeah.
using the force of the challenge
Oh, I love that analogy.
to propel us forward.
Yeah, and it's interesting to note that, Lao Tzu's ideas weren't developed in a vacuum.
Right.
I mean, they existed in dialogue and sometimes even in direct contrast with other schools of thought at the time,
Yeah.
like Confucianism.
The classic philosophical showdown,
Say loud.
Lao Tzu's non-doing
Right.
versus Confucius' more active,
Yeah.
achievement-oriented approach.
It's like they represent two ends of a spectrum, and
Yeah.
we have to kind of find our own balance somewhere in between.
Right. And while they may appear to be opposing philosophies,
Yeah,
they both offer valuable insights, I think,
absolutely.
for navigating life.
Confucius emphasized social order, ethical behavior, striving for excellence.
Okay.
Lao Tzu urged this deeper understanding of the natural order, a letting go of ego,
Right.
an embrace of simplicity.
So maybe it's not about choosing one or the other,
Yeah.
but finding a way to integrate
It's a-
them into our own worldview.
It's like a yin and yang
Yeah.
of philosophical approaches.
It's recognizing that life is full of paradoxes,
Right.
and the wisdom lies in embracing them.
Absolutely. And that brings us back to the Tao.
Okay, so we've talked about Wu Wei, the power
Yeah.
of water,
Yeah.
even this idea of satire.
Right?
But can we unpack the Tao a little bit more?
Yeah.
It feels central to understanding his whole philosophy.
Yes.
But it's one of those concepts that can be a bit slippery.
It's definitely a challenging concept. Even Lao Tzu himself says in the Tao Te Ching,
Okay.
the Tao that can be told is not the eternal Tao.
Okay.
So he's acknowledging that language itself
Yeah.
is insufficient
Wow.
to capture the essence of the Tao.
So how are we supposed to understand it if we can't even define it?
Well, I don't think he's setting us up for failure.
Okay.
I think he's encouraging us to move beyond the
Yeah.
limitations of our rational minds and engage with the Tao
Right.
on a more intuitive level.
Okay.
He's inviting us to experience it, to feel it,
Okay.
rather than trying to define it with words.
So it's more about that direct experience.
Yes,
Cultivating a felt sense.
exactly. And while we may not be able to fully grasp it
Yeah.
with our minds, he does offer us clues, metaphors, glimpses into its nature.
Right.
He describes it as the source of all things,
Okay.
the underlying principle that governs the universe,
Right.
the force that gives rise to both yin and yang, to all the duality and interplay of opposites that create this dynamic balance of the cosmos.
So not a deity, not a creator god, but more like a fundamental force.
Yeah,
A cosmic operating system
I love that.
that drives the whole show,
That's a great way to put it.
even though we can't see the code.
And Lao Tzu believed that the key to living a fulfilling and harmonious life
Yeah.
is to align ourselves with this Tao,
Okay.
with this natural flow of the universe.
So recognizing that we are part of something much bigger.
Exactly.
And the true wisdom lies in harmonizing
Yes,
our actions with that natural order.
precisely. And this brings us back to Wu Wei,
Okay.
this idea of effortless action.
Right.
It's about acting in a way that's in alignment with the Tao without forcing or striving.
Right.
It's about recognizing that sometimes the best way to achieve our goals is to let go of control, to trust the process,
Yeah.
and to allow things to unfold naturally.
Okay. I'm starting to get a better sense of this Wu Wei idea, but what does it look like in practice?
Right.
Can you give me an example?
Sure, think of a skilled gardener.
Okay.
They don't force the plants to grow,
Right.
but they create the conditions for growth.
Right.
Good soil, sunlight, water.
Yeah.
They understand the natural rhythms of nature and they work with them, not against them.
So it's about recognizing those underlying forces at play
Yes.
and aligning our actions with them.
Exactly like a surfer riding a wave.
Right.
You're not trying to control the ocean, you're working with its energy.
Exactly. And Lao Tzu applies this principle not only to our personal lives,
Right.
but also to the realm of government.
He critiques that traditional model of leadership,
Okay.
which he saw as based on control, dominance, accumulation of power.
So he's saying, hey, all you emperors and kings.
Well, he wouldn't have put it quite that bluntly,
Yeah.
but he was certainly challenging that conventional wisdom.
Right.
He argued that the best way to govern is
Okay.
to be like water,
Mhm.
to nurture, to support, to adapt to the changing circumstances.
So instead of imposing rules from on high, a true leader creates the conditions for harmony and prosperity.
Exact.
It's almost like a hands-off approach, but in a wise,
Precise.
insightful way.
It's about leading by example, by embodying the qualities of the Taoist, and humility, compassion,
Right.
flexibility, and a deep understanding of the interconnectedness of all things.
This is all starting to sound a bit utopian.
Yeah,
Is it really possible to
right.
govern a society based on these principles? And how does this ancient philosophy apply to us today
Right,
in the 21st century?
right.
Is Taoism just a historical artifact?
Yeah.
Or does it offer something relevant? Yeah, it does seem like a tall order applying these ancient principles
Right.
to our modern world.
But maybe that's part of the point. Maybe
Yeah.
Lao Tzu is challenging us to rethink our assumptions about what's even possible.
Right.
You know, to imagine a different way of being
Yeah.
in the world. I mean, remember, he was writing in a time of just immense upheaval and conflict.
Right.
His philosophy was in many ways a response to the chaos and suffering that he saw around him. And while our challenges today may be different,
Yeah.
the underlying human condition remains the same.
Right.
We still struggle with greed, ambition, the illusion of control.
So maybe his message is even more relevant now than ever.
I think so.
In a world that's, increasingly complex and fast-paced,
Right.
this idea of Wu Wei,
Right.
of aligning ourselves with the natural flow of things,
Yeah.
it feels like a breath of fresh air.
It does, doesn't it? And I think that's why Taoism continues to resonate with people
Yeah.
across cultures and throughout history.
Right.
It offers us a path to inner peace and harmony,
Okay.
even amidst all the turbulence
Right.
of the external world.
But let's go back to this idea of satire for a moment.
Okay.
We've talked about how Lao Tzu uses it to critique the leadership and the obsession with knowledge of his time.
Right.
But how does that satirical lens apply to us today?
Well, imagine Lao Tzu observing our modern world, the constant striving for achievement, the pursuit of material wealth, the obsession with technology, the endless cycle of wanting more, doing more, being more.
Yeah.
It all seems like this grand, absurd performance.
It's like he's looking at us saying, you're all so busy trying to get ahead that you've forgotten how to simply be.
Exactly. And I think that's where the true power of his satire lies.
Right.
It's not about mocking or belittling us.
Yeah.
It's about holding up this mirror
Right.
and inviting us to see ourselves more clearly,
Right.
to question our motivations and consider whether our relentless striving
Yeah.
is actually leading us toward happiness and fulfillment.
So it's a form of compassionate satire
Precisely.
aimed at waking us up from that trance
Yeah.
of our own ambitions and desires.
And it's a message that I think we desperately need to hear.
Yeah. Okay. So we've explored the core principles of Taoism,
Right.
Wu Wei, the power of water, the concept of the Tao, and even this satirical lens
Right.
through which Lao Tzu views the world. But I'm curious about the legacy of his teachings.
Okay.
I mean, Taoism has had a profound impact on Chinese culture and beyond.
Absolutely.
How has this philosophy of going with the flow influenced art, literature, even martial arts?
Well, Taoist principles are woven into the very fabric of Chinese culture.
Okay.
I mean, you see it in the brushstrokes of calligraphy, the flowing movements of Tai Chi, the serene landscapes of traditional Chinese painting,
Wow.
even in the principles of acupuncture and traditional Chinese medicine.
So it's not just an abstract philosophy. It's a way of life.
Exactly. And this influence extends far beyond the borders of China.
Yeah.
Taoist ideas have inspired artists, writers, philosophers around the world,
Right.
from the beat poets of the 1950s to the modern mindfulness movement.
So it's like this ancient wisdom is still flowing,
Yes.
still rippling through time,
I love that image.
influencing our culture,
Yeah.
our art, and even our way of thinking.
Precisely. And I think that speaks to the enduring power
Yeah.
and relevance of Lao Tzu's teachings. Even in our fast-paced, technology-driven world,
Right.
there's this deep longing for balance,
Yeah.
for harmony, for a way of being that's more in tune with the natural rhythms of life.
Right.
And Taoism offers us a pad, a way of seeing the world
Yeah.
that can help us navigate these turbulent times with a sense of grace and ease.
It feels like we've only just scratched the surface,
Right.
this rich and complex philosophy.
Yeah,
But I think we've gained some valuable insights
absolutely.
into the wisdom of Lao Tzu and the enduring power of the Tao Te Ching.
It's a fascinating text.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, what is one key takeaway
Okay.
that you'd like our listener to consider?
Perhaps the most important lesson that Lao Tzu offers
Yeah.
us is the power of letting go.
Okay.
Letting go of our need to control, letting go of our rigid beliefs, and letting go of our attachment to outcomes.
Right.
By embracing Wu Wei, by becoming like water,
Right.
we can find a sense of peace and fulfillment that
Yeah.
transcends the ups and downs of life's inevitable challenges.
It's a powerful message and one that I think we all need to hear.
Absolutely.
So thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the world of Lao Tzu and the Tao Te Ching.
It's been a pleasure.
And to our listener, we encourage you to explore these ideas further.
Yes.
See how they resonate in your own life.
Yeah.
Maybe you'll discover that the secret to winning is, in fact, to let go of trying.
And who knows, maybe you'll even find yourself effortlessly leading an empire
Right.
without even realizing you're in charge.
Now, that's a goal worth striving for. Until next time, keep diving deep and remember, the Tao that can be told is not the eternal Tao.